We are the Gujarat Technological University. Since its inception over a decade ago, GTU has been empowering young and curating minds to realize their true potential. Over 4 lakh inspired students are enrolled with one of the premier academic universities in India. With more than 450 affiliated colleges in its fold operating across 5 zones of the state, GTU, the International Innovative University, your place to move forward.
Hi everyone, today we'll be starting chapter number 9, crafting the brand positioning. So this chapter is all about all the activities which the company is doing to position its brand into the mind of the customer. From the name itself, you should understand that positioning refers to the place that a brand occupies into the mind of the customer and how it is able to differentiate itself from the competitors. So once the company has done the segmentation on the base of different variables, and after that if the company has identified the right target market, then the next step is to position the brand into the mind of the customers. So some of the examples I would give you that how the company has positioned itself into the mind of the customer, like Colgate, it stands for protectiveness. Patanjali, it's known for the natural products or Ayurvedic products. Then Woodland for rough and tough, and like Byju's app, it positions that it is the learning has been made fun with the help of this app, and Rin positions itself for whiteness. So these are the different ways that how the company has positioned itself into the mind of the customers. So actually positioning starts with the product, but positioning is not what you do to the product, but actually it is what a company is doing to the mind of the prospect or the potential customers. So positioning can be done on the basis of different variables, like company can position itself on the basis of different attributes or on the basis of various benefits it is providing to the customers. The company can position by comparing it with competitors, or on the basis of the high-tech image of the company. The company can position by taking into consideration that what category of users are using that particular brand on the basis of country of origin or ingredients. So these are all the different bases of positioning. So this chapter will take you through that what are the different bases or different activities which the company is doing for developing and establishing brand positioning, and the second part would be dealing with the various differentiation strategies a company is adopting. So what is positioning? Positioning is the act of designing a company's offering and image to occupy a distinctive place in the minds of the target market. The main goal of positioning activity is to locate the brand in the mind of the consumer in order to maximize the potential benefit to the firm. So actually a company first discovers the different needs and groups into the marketplace, targets those it can satisfy in a superior way as compared to competitors, and then positions its offering so that the target market recognizes the company's various offerings and images. So the goal is to locate in a very superior way into the mind of the customer. Here I have taken few examples, like the first one here is Move. So Move has positioned itself as a backache specialist. Many times the company can also take the insights of the consumer for deciding that which kind of brand positioning it wants to communicate, or which it would be much more effective. So talking about Move, initially it was launched as an ointment for relieving joint pain that troubles old people, but after taking the insights or the reviews of the consumer, it identified that backache is also a significant problem which is faced by majority of the females, particularly housewives, and that is why it repositioned itself as a backache specialist, and which was quite successful. So the brand communicates the pain relieving properties of Move by highlighting the benefits of that particular brand. And today if you see that Move is one of the largest selling ointment, particularly for backache, and along with the this gel, even the spray is also available. Then we have Maggi, which is quite successful in positioning, and it says the positioning statement is 2 minutes for preparing Maggi. So it may not require actually 2 minutes, but still it is very successfully positioned into the mind of the consumer that 2 minutes means Maggi only. And Synthol for freshness. So these are some of the brands which have positioned into the mind of the customer in a very effective manner through different marketing strategies. Here we have some more examples of positioning strategy. If you see Walmart, Nirma and Big Bazaar, they have positioned themselves on the base of price. Walmart follows the strategy of EDLP, everyday low pricing. Similarly, Nirma has positioned itself that it is a detergent which is available at affordable rates, and same goes with Big Bazaar when it says in the tagline that सबसे सस्ता and सबसे अच्छा. Similarly, Cello ballpoint pens has positioned itself that it gives the best performance and it is meant for everybody, whether it is a school child or a college goer or a young professional. So a pen with the best performance or high performance meant for all. Cafe Coffee Day CCD has positioned itself on the base of price, wherein it says that the coffee is available at affordable rates as compared to barista and Starbucks. And BMW, wherein it has positioned itself as a luxury performance car, and the target segment is the customers from the upper class. So some of the products can position themselves on the basis of an affordable price or lower price, and some at premium rates. So these were some of the examples. Apart from that, Nike has positioned itself on the base of performance and innovation. Here we have the concept of customer focused value proposition. When the company is doing the positioning, then the result of positioning is successful creation of customer focused value proposition, which is nothing but which gives the reason that why the customer should purchase the product or the service. So in marketing, a customer value proposition, which is also referred as CVP, it comprises of the sum total of benefits which a company promises a customer will receive in return for the purchase of the product. So with the help of positioning, the company is trying to promise the customer that whatever they'll be purchasing, that would be definitely beneficial, and with the help of positioning they are giving them the reason that why they should purchase that particular product or brand. So here we'll see some of the examples. That the first one is High Design, which is a brand of leather bags and other fashion accessories made up of leather. The target customers are fashion conscious customers, and the benefit which it is providing to the customer and which it is communicating with the help of advertisement is durability, style and aesthetic. And the value proposition, that is the reason which it gives the customer that why they should prefer High Design product, is fashion accessories offering luxury and style. The second is Scorpio, where the target customers are lifestyle oriented customers, and benefits which it provides or the positioning which it shows is luxury and comfort. And the value proposition is a vehicle that provides luxury and comfort and adventure and the thrill of an sports utility vehicle, and it's a spacious car. Then Domino's Pizza, the target customer is convenience minded pizza lovers. The benefits which it provides through the positioning is delivery speed and good quality, and the value proposition which it is able to create into the mind of the customer is a good hot pizza delivered to your door within 30 minutes. So this was the example of customer focused value proposition which can be done with the help of positioning. The next is brand positioning steps. So whenever a company is doing positioning of a particular brand, the following steps must be taken into consideration. So the first one is determining a competitive frame of reference. So under that there are three subpoints. The first, identify category membership, or identify that who are the competitors within that particular product category in which the company is dealing. The second is identify the target market for the company's brand. brand, and the third is analyzing the competitors by doing the SWOT analysis. That means identifying the strength, weakness, opportunity and threat. The second point of the steps of positioning is identify the optimal points of parity and points of difference, which is also referred as POP and POD. The third is creating brand mantra to summarize the positioning and the essence of brand. So these are the three steps which the company should carry in order to do the positioning, and one by one each of these steps we are going to study in the next slide in detail. So the first step of positioning requires determining a competitive frame of reference, which simply means doing the analysis of the competitors into the market. The competitive frame of reference defines which other brands a brand competes with. So whenever the company is doing the analysis of the competitors into the market, it may come across through 10-15 different brands who are competing with that particular brand, but it's not necessary that the brand will have a cutthroat competition with all those 10-15 brands which are there into the market. So with the help of this competitive frame of reference, the company can identify that which brand should be the specific focus for the further competitive analysis which the company would be doing. So hence it is very important to identify that which are the brands the company would be competing in detail. Then decisions about the competitive frame of reference are closely linked to the target market decision, because whosoever would be the target market for the competitor's brand, the same would be the target market for the company's brands also. And the next is identifying the competitors by determining the category membership. So here we have category membership. The main starting point in defining the competitive frame of reference for brand positioning is to determine the category membership of a particular firm. So category membership refers to the products or set of products with which a brand competes and which functions as close substitutes. So here the first step is to identify who are the main competitors of a particular company. Say for example, if I talk about HUL, then the main competitors would be P&G, ITC, Patanjali, Nestle, particularly for all the FMCG products. Not only these, but the company should also do the analysis according to product category. Company may have different set of competitors for different product categories. Say for instance, if I talk about Amul is into different product categories. So Amul, if I talk about the product category of biscuits, the set of competitors would be different. Amul for flavored milk product category, the competitors would be different. Amul for buttermilk product category, the competitors would be different, and same goes with Amul ice cream. For ice cream, they would be having different set of competitors. So this way, in category membership, the company needs to identify that who are the different brand competitors of a particular company across various categories if the company is dealing into multiple product categories. And not only this, but the company should also identify that who are the close substitutes, because substitutes are also one type of competitors only. Then there is an example given of PepsiCo, that PepsiCo knows Coca-Cola's Dasani brand is a major competitor for its Aquafina brand, particularly for this bottled water. And company can identify the close substitutes for one another. Here, particularly for PepsiCo, the substitute products can be the companies which are selling this packaged fruit juices. So this way the analysis should be done. Then marketers classify the industries according to the number of sellers, degree of differentiation, entry barrier, exit barrier, cost structure, then the degree of globalization. So when the company is doing all this kind of analysis in detail by identifying the different class of products and even the set of substitute products, then the company will be able to do in a much more detailed manner about the positioning strategy. So this analysis will be very helpful for the company in future, not only for the positioning strategies but also for identifying that which kind of product it should make. So here we have the example of Sensodyne, that how it was very successful because it focused on the right positioning strategy. So Sensodyne, a product of GSK, entered the Indian oral care market. At that time, the Indian oral care market was dominated by the two major brands, that is Colgate and HUL. Under HUL, the oral care brands were Close-Up and Pepsodent, which were accepted by majority of the people. Now these companies they were positioning in the Indian market by addressing the wide variety of consumer oral hygiene needs like cavity protection or mouth odor prevention, strengthening of the gums, or targeting majority of the time the young consumer. So here some sort of analysis was done by Sensodyne, that who are the major players and what is the positioning strategy, what type of need it is focusing, or what are the things which are addressed by these companies, and it identified that there was some sort of gap which was prevailing into the market. So it identified the positioning gap for the toothpaste appropriate for sensitive teeth. So hence the company positioned itself that it was a product particularly for those customers or for those adult population who are having the problem of sensitivity. So here the target group was adult population facing the problem of having sensitive teeth, and it did R&D and it identified that this was the major problem among the adult population in the Indian oral care market. So after that Sensodyne promoted this particular campaign, and it positioned itself that it was for this sensitivity issue, and after that it broke the market share of the market leader, that is Colgate and even HUL. And because of this strategy, later on Colgate came up with the another brand, that is Colgate Sensitive Pro Relief, which supported as the dentist advertisement campaign. So this way this Sensodyne, a product of GSK, was quite successful in developing the positioning strategy. So this is how marketers can grab the market share if they are identifying the correct need of the customers and position on the basis of that need. So in determining the competitive frame of reference, after the company has identified the competitors and after it has identified the target market, the next step is analyzing the competitors by doing the SWOT analysis. So here SWOT stands for strength, weakness, opportunity and threat. So here the company needs to gather the information about each competitors, the real and the perceived strength and the weakness, and after doing that analysis, the company should identify what are the opportunities and who are the competitors who would be threat for them. So here the company can do this kind of survey with the help of example. We'll understand that how the SWOT analysis can be done. So here the company has done the survey by asking the customers to rate the 3 competitors on the basis of 5 different attributes. So those 5 attributes are customer awareness, product quality, product availability, technical assistance and sales force. So the customers are supposed to rate the 3 competitors of a particular company on the basis of these 5 attributes on a scale of E stands for excellent, G is for good, F is for fair and P is for poor. So here you can see for competitor A, the customer has given excellent for customer awareness and product quality also excellent. So competitor A is excellent for in terms of awareness and product quality, but it is not performing well. That means it is performing poor in product availability and technical assistance and good in sales force. Talking about competitor B, it is almost good in customer awareness, product quality, technical assistance, and it is excellent in product availability and sales force. So there is no attribute where the customer feels that competitor B is giving a poor performance. Talking about competitor C, as far as customer awareness is concerned, the customers have rated F, that is fair, poor for product quality, good for product availability and fair for both technical assistance and sales force. So this kind of analysis will help the company to understand that what is the strength of the company and what is the weakness and what strategies it should adopt to overcome the weakness of the competitor. So this result suggests is that if the company wants to do positioning, then the company could attack competitor A on the product availability and technical assistance. Because of product availability the performance is poor, and for technical assistance is also the performance is poor. For competitor B, the company can choose not to attack because it is almost performing good and excellent on all the attributes, and for competitor C, it can attack on product quality because it is performing poor on that. So this is how the company can do the analysis of the competitors in detail, and thereafter the company can identify that what would be the base of positioning. So finally, based on all this analysis, the marketers must formally define the competitive frame of reference, which would be a guide for the positioning strategy. Second step of positioning is identifying POP and POD. POP stands for points of parity and POD stands for points of difference. So once the marketer have fixed the competitive frame of reference for positioning by identifying the target market and identifying the nature of competition, after that the company should define the appropriate point of difference and point of parity association. So let us first understand that what is point of difference association. So point of difference are attributes or the benefits or the characteristics or the features that the consumer strongly associate with the brand, they positively evaluate, and they believe they could not find to the same extent with a competitive brand. So point of difference associations is based on any feature or a characteristic or attribute or benefit which is offered by a particular brand. So point of difference in simple terms, it is some you can say attribute or the feature or some unique thing which the competitor is not having and a company is having. So point of difference can also be said that it is a USP, that is unique selling proposition of a particular company. So when a company is having some attribute on the basis of which it can differentiate itself from the competitor, that is referred as point of difference. Some point of difference which a company is having but the competitors are not having, and the element which is different, that is regarded important by the customers also. That is the main thing. So again I am repeating, point of difference is nothing but it is some attribute or the benefit which is considered important and on the basis of which it can differentiate itself from the competitors. Many companies can have one point of difference and few brands can have multiple points of difference. So here we have the example, like for Nike, the point of difference is performance and innovative technology. Apple, the point of difference is design and ease of use. Talking about Google, the point of difference is ease of searching and creativity. Honda is having the point of difference of design and engine, it is famous for that. Talking about Starbucks, its point of difference is quality and the flavor variety. So point of difference is some uniqueness which a brand is having and which the competitors are not having, and on the basis of which it can stand out of the crowd among the competitors. The next is POP, that is points of parity. Points of parity on the other hand refers to the attributes or the benefits or the features or characteristics that are not necessarily unique to the brand but may be shared with other brands. So some of the features or characteristics which all the brands are sharing into a particular category, that is referred as points of parity. So these are the necessary conditions for brand choice. Points of parity falls into two different categories. The first one is category point of parity and the second one is competitive point of parity. So category point of parity are all the attributes or benefits that consumers view as essential within a certain product or service category. So in other words, these are the necessary but not the sufficient conditions for a particular brand choice. I'll give you an example that say for example, if the consumer wants to select a particular travel agency, so here the consumer might not consider a travel agency a truly travel agency unless and until it is making air and hotel reservations or providing the advices about the various packages or offering the various ticket payment and delivery options. So for the customer, whether he or she is choosing X travel agency, Y or Z, these are the necessary services which should be provided by any travel agency. So category point of parity represents the necessary conditions for brand choice. Another example I'll give you, that a bank will not be suitable unless and until it offers the ATM service facility or checkbook or passbook. So some of the features or basic services which must be offered by all the different brands in a particular category, that is referred as category point of parity. Or in case of cell phone industry, certain features which the customer expect to be provided are ability to receive and make calls and text messaging capabilities and usage of mobile data. So these are the services which the customer expects that must be provided, whether it is X, Y or Z or any particular brand. So if these services are not provided, then that particular brand will not be the part of consideration set of a customer, and if it is not the part of consideration set, then definitely it won't be a brand choice also. So these are the necessary conditions for a brand choice. The next is competitive point of parity. Now these are the features which the company adds into a particular brand to overcome the perceived weakness of the brand. So again, the same example of cell phone industry. Say for example, if the customer is considering three different smartphones, and after that from these three the customer will be choosing one. So say for instance the consideration set includes Oppo, Vivo and Samsung mobile. So suppose if all the three brands are having more or less similar features, fine, it's just a hypothetical example, and if Samsung is a bit user friendly as compared to Oppo and Vivo, then that would be a choice of the customer. So it is designed to overcome the perceived weakness of the brand, and these are the features which the company adds on to negate the competitor's perceived point of difference. So here we have the example of Dettol versus Savlon, and we'll try to understand that how a company positioned with the help of establishing point of difference association into the mind of the customer. So here the antiseptic lotion market in India was traditionally dominated by Dettol, which is an important brand of Reckitt Benckiser. The attribute of the Dettol in antiseptic lotion was the strong smell, the liquid turning cloudy when poured in water, and the stinging sensation when the liquid touches the wound. So this became the category properties of the liquid antiseptic. So for a long time there was a strong association into the mind of the customer about these properties. So the customers had that perception that if they would purchase any antiseptic lotion, the category properties were same as Dettol, that is strong smell, the liquid would turn cloudy, and it will have a stinging sensation if it is poured on the wound. So this were the category point of parity, you can say, characteristics which were established into the mind of the customer. After that Savlon was introduced, and Savlon did not have these properties, so it was very challenging for Savlon to convince the customer that although it did not match Dettol with these characteristics, but still it was much more efficient. So talking about the properties of Savlon, it had a different smell, the liquid did not turn cloudy in water, and it did not give any sort of stinging sensation. So hence, in order to obtain the acceptance into the mind of the consumers, Savlon had to counter the category perception through different types of communication or advertisement, and it advertised the efficacy of this particular brand by highlighting that no stinge property of Savlon antiseptic liquid. So this no stinge property was a key differentiator or the point of difference, and slowly and gradually it was accepted by the customer. So here this example tries to explain us that how a company can position itself on the basis of a point of difference attribute or point of difference association. The three criteria that determine whether a brand association can truly function as a point of difference or not. The first is desirable to consumer, the second is deliverable by the company, and the third is differentiation. Talking about the first one, desirable to consumer, so here the company should take into consideration 2 points: relevance and the ability to believe into that particular brand. So consumers must see the brand association as personally relevant to them. Like say for example, if Airtel says that it is providing the fastest network, and if that is a point of difference, then that fastest network should be relevant to the customers, that should be important for the customers. The second is, we are talking about the ability of the customers to believe that whether that particular brand will really provide that benefit whatever it is promising through the advertisement or campaign or not. So consumers must also be given a compelling reason to believe and some logic for why the the brand can deliver the desired benefit. So here I will give you one example that when Mountain Dew argues that it is more energizing than other soft drinks, so it is claiming this particular statement by saying that it is having a higher level of caffeine. The another example is of Head and Shoulders shampoo, which claims that it is having ZPTO chemical, which is an anti-dandruff fighting ingredient. So this way the customers can believe that whatever the promise is given by a particular brand, it will deliver that. The second is deliverable by the company. Here the company should focus on three things, that is feasibility, communicability and sustainability. So the company must have the internal resources and commitment to feasibly and profitably create and maintain the brand association in the minds of the customer. The company should have sufficient resources that whatever it has promised to the customer, they should able to create that, produce that and deliver to the customers. The product design and marketing offering must support the desired association, and whatever association the company is building by creating the offering or the product, that should be communicable with the help of advertisement and various other campaigns, and it should be sustainable into the market for a longer period of time. That means it should be very difficult for the competitors to attack that particular brand. It should be so very strong. The third is differentiating from the competitors. So finally the consumers must see the brand association as distinctive and superior to the relevant competitors. So here I have taken the example of Airtel, like how it is differentiating itself from the competitors by saying that it is having the fastest network, or Jio is differentiating itself by focusing on the superior clarity and having a better downloading speed. And similarly we even studied the example of Dettol and Savlon is having that point of differentiation of that anti-stinging property. So this way the companies can use these three criteria in order to determine the point of difference. Here we have another concept, multiple frames of reference. So a brand can identify itself with more than one actual or potential competitive frames of reference by suggesting different possible POPs and PODs. So this point tries to say that when the competition increases or the firm plans to expand into different product category, then in that situation the brand itself tries to identify more than one actual or potential competitive frame of reference. So in short, whenever the company is having different possible point of parity and point of differences, because it is competing with different competitors across various categories, that is referred as multiple frames of reference. So here we have the example of McD. McD entered into a different product category, that is McCafe. So talking about McCafe, the set of competitors would be different. So when McCafe is comparing itself with Starbucks or with any other coffee chain retailers, then the point of parity and point of difference would be different. McD talking about fast food restaurants, then the point of parity and point of difference would be different. So this way when the company is trying to establish different POPs and PODs, then that concept is referred as multiple frames of reference. So here for McD the point of difference would be quality, image, experience and variety, and point of parity could be convenience and value. Talking about Nescafe, the point of difference could be again quality and brand image, the variety of the product, freshness, experience, and the possible point of parity could be convenience and value. Similarly I can give the example of ITC, which is having multiple product categories. So again for that the point of difference could be variety, quality, brand image, and point of parity would be valuable products. So this way when the company is expanding into various categories, and hence because of that if it is having various POPs and PODs, and that is referred as multiple frames of reference. The next concept is straddle positioning. Now at times a company is trying to position itself on the basis of two frames of reference with one set of point of difference and other point of parity. So whenever a company is trying to establish its positioning on the basis of one set of point of parity and one set of point of difference, that is referred as straddle positioning. So straddle positioning is a situation when brands point of difference in one segment becomes point of parity in the other segment and vice versa. That concept is referred as straddle positioning. So let us understand with the help of example. So Subway restaurants, it has positioned itself as healthy, good tasting sandwiches. So this positioning allows the brand to create a point of parity on taste and a point of difference on health with respect to some of the restaurants like McD, fine, quick serve restaurants. So when Subway is compared to McD, then point of parity is taste and point of difference is health. But when the same restaurant is compared with other healthy food serving restaurants, then point of parity is health and point of difference is the taste. So this is referred as straddle positioning. Another example I'll give you of BMW. Like BMW, it is having luxury and performance as point of parity and point of difference. So when BMW is compared with luxurious cars, then point of difference is performance and point of parity is luxury. But when the same BMW car is compared with the performance giving cars, then point of parity is performance and point of difference is luxury. Fine. One more example I'll give you, that Honda Mobilio's positioning as spacious MUV car yet stylish. So when it is compared with a spacious car, then that spaciousness becomes the point of parity and stylishness becomes the point of difference. But when it is compared with stylish cars, then stylish is the point of parity and that spaciousness is the point of difference. So this is how the companies are doing straddle positioning. Choosing POPs and PODs with the help of perceptual mapping. So for choosing specific benefits as POPs and PODs in order to position a brand, many firms are using perceptual maps. So let us first understand that what is the meaning of perceptual mapping. So perceptual maps are the visual representations of consumer perceptions and preferences about specific attributes of a particular brand. Perceptual maps are also referred as positioning maps, and the name is perceptual map because whatever mapping is done, that is done on the basis of the perception of the customers. So these perceptual maps help us to know how consumers view the different brands along the various dimensions. So perceptual mapping can be done by asking the participants to place the products on the basis of various attributes on various dimensions, and the resulting map shows that how the consumers see the strength of the competing brand in a particular market, and also we can identify that how our brand or company's brand is seen into the market. So here you can see that the dimensions which are used is on one axis we have price and on the another axis we have quality. So high price, low price, high quality and low quality, and on the basis of these attributes the customer is asked to represent three different brands: brand A, brand B and brand C. So brand A is perceived as having higher price and higher quality, brand C is perceived as having lower price and high quality, and brand B is perceived as having lower price and lower quality, and there is no brand which is put on the axis having lower quality and higher price. So this kind of mapping can be done by asking the customers to view the brand on the basis of different attributes. Firms use this kind of mapping in order to develop the market positioning strategy for their brand. The companies can also identify that what is the gap which is existing into the market and try to reposition the brand by identifying the gap. The brands which are follow into one particular quadrant, and if they are close to each other, it means that they are perceived as similar brands, and into the mind of the customer there is no difference between those brands. So that way the company can identify that whether there is difference, perceived difference into the mind of the customers about the various brands. So this kind of perceptual mapping can be done for various product categories for various brands. It can be done for ice cream, it can be done for you can say watch or automobile or whatever the company wants to identify. The need for perceptual mapping is why the companies are doing so. So it helps to understand that what the consumers think about their brand, not only about their brand, but it also identifies that what the consumers think about the competitors' brands, and it helps to build the effective marketing strategy for a particular company. And further, as I said, it is also used to identify the gap, and the company can also try to identify the different strategies for repositioning their own brand. So this is the usefulness of perceptual mapping for the positioning of a particular brand. The third step was about brand mantra. Brand mantras are short 3 to 5 word phrases that capture the essence or spirit of the brand positioning. So sometimes brand mantra is also referred as brand essence. It is nothing but it is a short statement that expresses the core of what that brand represents or the image it seeks to project in front of the target customers. So the purpose is to ensure that all the employees within the organization and all the external marketing partners like advertising agencies, they should understand that what the brand is most fundamentally to represent with the consumer, so that they can adjust their actions accordingly, so that they can frame the advertising or they can frame the tagline or slogans accordingly. Friends, brand mantra and tagline both are different. Brand mantra is generally designed with the internal purpose in the mind, and when we talk about brand slogan, that is the external translation that attempts to create some sort of engagement with the consumers. So brand mantra generally communicates that what the brand is and what it is not. So here we have the examples of few brand mantras like Nike. The brand mantra of Nike is authentic athletic performance. The brand mantra of Apple is smart, technologic, listen to music, and Coca-Cola sharing happiness, tasty. So in brand mantra, certain words are used that describe the nature of the product or service or the type of experience or the benefit the brand provides. Talking about Nike, it uses the word authentic athletic performance. So athletic performance is a word through which we can understand that Nike is meant for athletes. So typically brand mantras are designed to capture the brand's point of difference. So this is how the companies are using brand mantra in order to provide the guidance what products can be introduced under the same particular brand, what ad campaign to run, and where, how to sell the brand. So it is one kind of guide to the marketers. So many companies are quite successful in creating such brand mantras and positioning their brand accordingly. Here we have three criteria for brand mantra. The first criteria for brand mantra is communicate. A good brand mantra should define the category of business for the brand, and it should also clarify that what is unique about the brand. So here in the example of Nike, it says the brand mantra is authentic athletic performance. So it is trying to communicate that it is into product which is meant for athletes. Same goes with Apple, that in the brand mantra itself it specifies that it is into technological products. The second criteria is simplify. Simplify refers to that concept where the brand mantra should be short and it should be meaningful. The third is inspire. Whatever phrases or the words which are used in brand mantra, it should create some sort of inspiration particularly among the employees, and it should be personally meaningful for every individual. The next is establishing brand positioning. Once the company has identified the brand positioning strategy, the marketers should communicate it to everyone in the organization, so it guides about the further planning. The consumer should understand what the brand offers and why it is superior. So consumers need to understand that in which category or categories the brand is competing, what is the point of parity, what is the point of difference with respect to other competitors. Then the third point is category membership must be established. Now it is very important for any particular brand to establish category membership. That means to make the consumers understand that to which product category it belongs to. Like say for example, if I say Lakme, then people know that Lakme belongs to cosmetic category. If I say Samsung, people know that it belongs to electronic category. If I say Honda, people know that it belongs to automobile category. So these are the brands where the category membership is very strong. Fine. So in this kind of situation, even if the people are not informed about the category membership, that is okay. But situations where the company is launching a new brand into a different product category, then in this kind of situation, the company should establish the category membership. Like if I talk about this Dettol a dishwashing liquid. So Dettol established this new brand into a different product category, that is into dishwashing liquid. So here they need to communicate to the customer that they have entered into a new product category. Similarly, Patanjali entered into apparel, so that way they need to communicate that they have entered into apparel category. Only then the customers will be they will be convinced. Category membership can be a special problem even for high technological products, and many times even if the customers are aware that about the category membership, but still they may not be convinced that whether the brand is a valid member of the category or not. Like suppose if HP is producing new digital cameras, so people are aware that there are cameras available of HP company, but they may not be convinced with the fact that whether HP cameras would give the same result as compared to Sony or Nikon or other you can say valuable brands. So this becomes a problem if the customers are not convinced. Then as I said, brands are sometimes affiliated with categories in which they do not hold membership. Like Patanjali, it is not holding the membership into apparel category, but still it is into that category, so it becomes very difficult for the customers to believe that particular brand into that category. Hence the customers must know the function of the brand, and the company should take lot of efforts to convince the customer that they are holding a membership into another product category also. Only then the customers would be preferring that brand. So here there are three main ways to convey a brand's category membership. The first one is announcing category benefits. To reassure the consumers that a brand will deliver on the fundamental reason for using a category, the marketers frequently use the benefits to announce the category membership. So here the company needs to focus on the benefits in the advertisement and explain that what are the different advantages the consumers will get once the customer will purchase that brand. So say for instance, if it is a food product, then the marketer may focus on the ingredient of what it is made up of, then on the taste part, and how it is focusing on the health of the customers. If it is an industrial product, then the company may focus on the durability of that particular product or brand. So this way the company needs to focus on the category benefits of the brand. The second is comparing to the exemplars. Now many times when the brand is totally new into the market, then the awareness is very less. So in this kind of situation, the company can use the celebrities for endorsement, and the celebrities who are used in endorsing that brand, they should be the recognized members of that category. And the company can use the Bollywood celebrities, and company can use even the politicians and other sports people also, depending on the relevance of the brand. So suppose if the company is launching some energy drink, then they may take some sports person for the endorsing that particular new brand. So that sports person would be the right person to endorse that energy drink. Fine. Relying on the product descriptor. Now product descriptor is nothing but it follows the brand name. Fine. So many times the company is using some sort of description which is followed by the brand name, and it is often concise meaning which conveys a category of the origin. Like say for example, Patanjali Atta Noodles. So Patanjali is the name of the brand and Atta Noodles is the product descriptor. So from Patanjali Atta Noodles, the customer can make out that it is into the product category of Atta Noodles. Fine. So this is the meaning of product descriptor. Similarly, Honda sports bike, this is another example of product descriptor. Or this Ford sports wagon. So these are the different examples of product descriptor. So this is used to convey the category into the mind of the customers. The next is communicating POPs and PODs. So many times earlier we have studied that the company may use multiple frames of reference or straddle positioning, where the company can use different POPs and PODs for positioning. But whenever the company is using different POPs and PODs, it should take into consideration that whatever point of parity and point of difference it is using, they should not negatively relate with each other. That means they should not be contradictory with each other. Like the company should not use the association of low price versus high quality, or taste versus low calorie, or nutritious versus good tasting, because if it is contradictory to each other, then probably it will be very difficult for the customers to believe in that brand. So that care should be taken. The next topic of the chapter is differentiation strategy. So here we will be understanding that what are the different ways at how the company can differentiate itself from the competitors. So let us first understand the meaning of competitive advantage. So competitive advantage is the company's ability to perform in one or more ways that a competitors cannot or will not match. So it is one type of way of differentiating itself from the competitors. And Michael Porter has suggested that whatever is the competitive advantage of a company, that should be sustainable for a longer period of time. Sustainable, that means the company should be able to differentiate on that basis, and it should be able to survive for a longer period of time into the market, and it should be very difficult for the competitors to imitate that competitive advantage. Furthermore, the consumers must see any competitive advantage as a customer advantage, because whatever is a competitive advantage of the company, and if the customer does not see that as a customer advantage, and the customer will not prefer that brand. Fine. So say for example, if a company claims its product works faster than its competitor, and it won't be a customer advantage if the customers don't value speed. Fine. So that speed should be important for the customers. Only then and then the customer will purchase that brand, and if the customer is satisfied, then the customer may go for repeat purchase, and which would lead to high profitability and high revenue for the company. So that point should be remembered by the company. Then we have this differentiation strategies or means of differentiation. So these are the different ways that how the company can differentiate itself from the competitors. So here we will discuss 4 different ways or means of differentiation. So the first base of differentiation is employee differentiation. So particularly in service sector, the companies can have a better trained employees who provide a superior customer service. So company can first hire the right kind of people, and after hiring them provide them proper training and developmental activities. So particularly in service sector like banks, insurance companies, consulting firms, hospitals, academic industry, the companies can differentiate themselves on the basis of having well trained employees. The next means of differentiation is channel differentiation. Company can differentiate itself on the basis of the distribution channel which it is adopting. So here I have taken the example of Eureka Forbes. Eureka Forbes, which is into the market of vacuum cleaners and water purifiers in India. It has positioned itself, or it is having the competitive advantage of having a direct distribution channel. So if anybody wants the vacuum cleaner of Eureka Forbes, then the company is having the direct salesperson who reaches directly at the customers' homes, demonstrates the product, then explains about the details of the product, then motivates the customer, then if the customer is convinced, then sells the product, installs that equipment, collects the money, and thereafter provides the after sales services. So this way Eureka Forbes has differentiated itself on the basis of the channel. The third means of differentiation is image differentiation. So here the company should craft a powerful brand image or reputation into the mind of the customer, which can be done over years by various branding activities. So if the company is having a good brand image into the mind of the customer, then definitely the preference for that particular brand will also be high. Some of the companies who are enjoying image differentiation are Apple, Google, Sony, Walmart. So these are the companies who are having image differentiation. And the last means of differentiation is services differentiation. So service company can differentiate itself by providing a better service, by providing a faster delivery system, and by providing or focusing more on effectiveness and efficient solutions to the consumer. So here the company should take care of the on-time delivery, then order completeness. The company should focus on reducing the order cycle time. Then the company should try to handle the emergencies properly. The company should handle the inquiries in an effective manner. The company should have a proper information system so that it can manage the database of the customers. So this with the service differentiation should be done, and the company can also focus on after sale services like warranty, guarantee, installation, and all those things. So these were the different differentiation strategies, and here we complete the entire chapter of crafting the brand positioning.